Hello. Here to my colleague that I can hear my own voice. We still can't hear you, just so you know. Your microphone is muted. There we go.
How about now? We're good?
Yes, now we can hear you. Thank you, thank you. I assume that at this point you're ready and interested in our presentation.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, let me share my screen. All right, you should be seeing the big screen in blue. Is that what you see?
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all for this wonderful opportunity to share with you information about the California Community Conflict Resolution Unit. It is housed under the California Civil Rights Department. We really appreciate this opportunity to share this information because reaching out to human relation commissions, human rights commissions, and other groups that have an interest in responding to concerns among community groups is really something we respond to, and we are a free resource already paid for by your tax dollars. So this is a wonderful unit that you all can engage to address any kinds of issues you're interested in prioritizing in your city. And I'll jump into how you can do that in a little bit. But first, to just share with you that the Small But Mighty unit is one of three. It is composed of myself, Marquez Equilibrium, the Assistant Deputy Director, as well as attorney mediators Greg Mann and Kendra Tanachia. We are virtual, so we're scattered across the state since we cover the entire state, but we will travel to wherever we are needed. A little bit about our Civil Rights Department. Most people are um, familiar with the classical function of the department, which is to respond to issues of discrimination, complaints of discrimination in places like housing and employment. And you can call our main number or go to our website, and there is something you click on to begin that complaint process. And a investigator will reach out to you, talk to you, and start to look into the situation. In some cases, some of those cases where they find evidence of discrimination, there are cases that the legal department will take and prosecute. So that is what the Civil Rights Department is mostly known for, is enforcing the laws of the state related to civil rights. Now, our unit is a little bit different because whereas the mission of the department is to protect through an enforcement function, the mission of the Community Conflict Resolution Unit crew is to promote peaceful relations by assisting communities experiencing fear, conflict, or tensions related to discriminatory practices, hate incidents, or hate crimes that have a community impact. So that's where we're very different. We deal with community issues, community groups. We will not, we'll refer other people if they come to us regarding like individual complaints. Again, there are other agencies that we can point them towards that can be responsive to those concerns. But we deal with those big issues. After a hate crime, a whole community is targeted. It's not just one individual, right? In police community relations or in demographical changes, you always have impact with groups of people. So we can be responsive to those kinds of issues that impact many folks. Now, before I kind of jump into and tell you a little bit more, let me share with you that our unit, again, is composed of two attorney mediators. So they have extensive backgrounds in civil rights and in conflict resolution and in mediation. My background is in conflict resolution. I'm one of the non-attorneys, but all of us have all the background and skills to be responsive, to implement a few services that I'm about to cover. But before we jump into what those services are, again, who do we work with? You're one of those community groups that we work with, human relation commissions, you're in there, tribal groups, schools, governments, law enforcement. It doesn't even have to be a nonprofit organization. It can be a group of people in a neighborhood that is concerned about a particular issue. We can work with them as well. So here's again something that makes us very unique and different from the rest of the Civil Rights Department is that we are neutral and impartial. We're a third party body and we don't have law enforcement authority. So we don't make arrests, we don't do fact finding, we don't assign blame in a case. You're not going to get a report from us that says this side was right, this side is wrong, and we're only going to work with one side. We don't do that. We're neutral and we will work with all parties who are interested in working with us. The work is voluntary. That means you can say yes or no to accepting our services. Third thing is that we're confidential. So those conversations we have with community groups are confidential. If another government agency, even our own civil rights department says, who did you speak to and what was discussed, we can't share that information with them. It's confidential. And lastly, we like to make sure that the work that we engage in engages the communities that are impacted. So even if it's an advocacy group that is coming to us about a concern in their community, we may want to eventually include them because we want to make sure that the solutions reflect the priorities of the community. A quick example is like students. Sometimes a principal says, hey, I have an issue. All of these students are saying this thing. And then you go and you do a dialogue with students, and the students will surprise you sometimes and say, no, that's not really what we're, concerned about. It's something completely different. So it's really important to ensure that the community groups are involved. So here's what we do, how we do the work. We design conflict resolution processes. That means like your town halls, your dialogues, listening sessions. We can help to design that, put that together, the questions, the agenda, how to do it, considerations for the room, and other logistical and technical considerations. Then there's facilitating community engagement processes. That means we can facilitate those processes that we help to design. At the same time, they can be simple meetings just to figure out where we begin and identify some next steps. Where would we go next? We can also engage in education and training. We've been doing these de-escalation trainings for a few months with different cities where we teach the employees of that city how to de-escalate conflict with the public. Sometimes people who have like window positions, or it could be people from, say, the permit office, or it could be some other outreach function. And there can be cases where an engagement with a member of the public turns into a conflict. And how do you de-escalate that? So we share mediation principles that can be very helpful to de-escalate a conflict situation. We're also working on a hate crimes training that we're trying to finalize right now that will teach people like the differences between a hate crime and a hate incident and the different kinds of hate incidents, some that violate civil rights laws like in employment and housing, and those that do not. And then what are all the options and resources available to the public in those kinds of situations. So that should be ready sometime soon. And if you're interested, we can of course circle back with you all once it's ready. And that can be something you host, or as part of an organization that maybe you belong to, somebody else can host it. Um, then we also have technical consultations. Those can be quick, or they can be really long and extensive over periods of months as we help you to design some engagement strategies for members of the public. Quick examples might be just a 15-minute phone call. You pick up the phone. You can do this as an individual, not even as a commissioner. You are interested and thinking about, like, how would I respond to a situation that happened in my city? And if you just want to pick our brains, if you want to get quick feedback, you just pick up the phone and you call us. So again, it can be super short, as in your capacity as an individual, or you can do it more formally, set up an ad hoc, and we can work with you as part of a resource to the ad hoc to work on the priorities that you identify. So that kind of goes into kind of like how we might work together. I'll circle back to that again some more. Lastly, mediating community disputes is one of those other tools that we offer. Right now, we're in the mediation process between a city and a community group where there was an allegation that one of the city processes discriminated a particular group in the community. So we're trying to change policies and protocols for this particular department in the city to address that concern. Other issues that we can help with are like contingency planning related to major events. Say you have a Pride Festival as an example. And this was a real one that where we helped out last year, and there were concerns that there would be agitators and people coming on in to disrupt the event. And so we talked about security, had a meeting with their volunteer security, and discussed many different things to try and reduce that potential for violence or other issues. So if there's a group, a hate group that ever decides to come to your city, we can talk about like the implications of that and things that you can do to try and reduce again that potential for violence between them and counter protest groups, those kinds of things. So space is something we would look at in different situations. And again, as long as it's part of a something that will cause a community conflict, community concern, call us. And if you don't know, then don't worry about it. You just contact us. Here, these are just kind of some other reasons, like, well, why crew, why call us? Obviously, we save money because we're not law enforcement. We're not part of the litigation, the court process. We're an alternative to it. So we understand that in many cases, you're not going anywhere. The city's not going anywhere. You got to work together. If there's a conflict situation, it's about maintaining those relationships, building on them. So there may be cases where you want to really promote communication and relationship building, and we can help you with that. Um, there are a few other two other things under the Civil Rights Department just to make you aware of, in case you're not aware of these. One is California versus hate. You can report hate in any county in California by either calling the hotline 833-8-NO-HATE. You can also visit their website, of course, californiaversushate.org, or you call 211. And the nice thing about California versus hate is it's available in many languages. And one of the main things it does is it gives you your options. If you're the victim of hate, it provides you with options. It's not tied to law enforcement, so it is separate and apart from it. You don't have to fear about like giving information you're not comfortable giving. You don't have to be discussing your immigration status. They're not going to ask about that. So it's meant to be as safe as possible for people to use. So the other nice thing about it is it collects some very basic information to let the our government leaders know, like, hate, what kind of hate is being experienced throughout the state, and what could we do to make recommendations to allocate resources and funding to combat hate. So it's a great way to collect data, but again, it does so while protecting the confidentiality of the people that it works with. And then the last thing to tell you about, is the Commission on the State of Hate is a statewide commission, a little bit in some ways kind of like a human relations commission, but it doesn't respond directly to concerns happening in any particular jurisdiction geographically. But it does pick many different themes and topics to study them further, call for experts to talk about those different topics identified. They do monthly meetings, and then they do public forums every year throughout the state to give people an opportunity to interface with that commission. So that said, ways that you can work with us, we can if you have a particular focus area, you can create an ad hoc and you can invite us to that ad hoc, and we can give you, our input, our perspectives on any issue you select. We can give you options that you can engage in, and we can get into like specifics, like the questions that might be used, so we can help to write them, draft them, and we can go back and forth so that we can build whatever that option is together. We can help you with the implementation of it, and uh, again, it'll be based on those specifics. Whatever issue you're interested in discussing in an ad hoc, that's one way. But again, don't forget that as an individual, you can just pick up the phone and call us, and we can give you quick feedback and input on a particular issue. Yeah, any questions?
Thank you, Marquez. Any questions for Marquez? And Commissioners, Commissioner Villalobos?
Oh. I don't know where to talk. Thank you for your presentation. I just have some really quick questions. One is, before I forget, is it possible to get a copy of your slides sent to our staff liaison for distribution to the commissioners?
I can
Imagine.
send you the slides.
Great, that would be great, thank you. And just so I'm clear, this is a free service that you
Yes.
would provide to commissions like ours or cities and communities?
Yes, all services are free. Your tax dollars have already paid for them.
And have you had any experience with bystander intervention training?
Yeah, I've been through a few of those. We do not provide one. We take a little bit of a different. What we have to offer is de-escalation, as I mentioned earlier. One of the focus areas is to provide the participant with conflict resolution, mediation type skills that they can use directly verbally with others. So there are other organizations that have already, engaged in the bystander area. So we're focused more on the giving those people direct skills that they can use versus like giving guidance to third parties.
Thank you, Marquez. Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, Marquez, for that wonderful presentation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, the way you can reach us is I placed it in the chat. There's the crew email, and we'll send you our personal our work contact phone numbers so that you can also reach us via cell. Thank
Right,
you.
Marquez, if you can send it to me, Jeremy, I'll distribute it out to the commission.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeremy. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
You.
Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on with the agenda, item number 6, approval of minutes for the meetings that took place March 10th, 2025. The approval of minutes for April 14th, which we did not have a meeting, but it was minutes produced for April 14th, based on a religious holiday. Right?
Correct.
So,
Correct.
a motion to approve the minutes.
I just have, before you make a motion to approve the minutes, the March 10th minutes are not correct, so they need to be amended. There's no way I could have done any of the things that are in the minutes because I wasn't present at the March 10th meeting. So before we vote to approve the March 10th meeting minutes, I would recommend we have Jeremy revise the March 10th meeting
I
minutes.
might recommend that we forward the March 10 meeting minutes to the June meeting for approval.
Fine.
What I fear has happened is that two documents got crossed and what's been presented is the incorrect document.
Oh, okay.
So I believe the real one exists out there, but it's not been presented to you this evening, so I would recommend that you approve the April minutes, but the March ones I will bring back the correct version at your June meeting.
Okay. So we're gonna play with that recommendation? Yeah,
Make a motion to approve the April minutes.
okay, a second. Commissioner Horn, any further discussion? Let's take a vote, say hi, raise your hand.
Uh,
Thank you so much for that. So we're gonna move on to item number 7, the agenda, which is public comments, and I see the comments coming. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Human Rights Commission on agenda items. And items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission, although the commission values your comments. Pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on posted on the agenda. You will be given 3 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you.
My name is Abraham and I'm here not just with a request, but with a heavy heart from over a year of silence. I want to speak to you today about the need for this commission to work with the city of Palm Springs to find tangible ways to humanize Palestinians in our community. As many of you know, the city has refused multiple calls, mine and many others, to revisit the October 2023 resolution that voiced one-sided support for Israel. That resolution is not just symbolic, it is deeply damaging. It erases the daily suffering of Palestinians. It ignores the war crimes, the apartheid system, and the ongoing genocide in which people are being exterminated every day. The resolution has made many of us feel unwelcome in our own city. It's painful because the refusal to even discuss it sends a clear and chilling message that Palestinian lives don't matter enough to be part of the conversation. Let's be honest, the council is embarrassed. They know that if the resolution came back on the agenda now, the room would be full. It would be emotional, it would be contentious, and maybe that's what they want to avoid. But discomfort is the price of growth and justice. That's why I'm requesting that this commission place an item on your agenda to explore how you can actively uplift Palestinian humanity. I'm asking for a discussion, one I cannot carry alone, about actions this commission can take in partnership with others. Some ideas I'd like to propose include a candlelight vigil, similar to the one held annually for Trans Day of Remembrance. Film screenings and community discussions to foster understanding, such as the upcoming No Other Land screening and panel discussion happening on May 24th. And any other creative ideas this commission may envision. I'm not asking you to take on the whole world, but I am asking you to do what you can, right here in Palm Springs. I know the city attorney has cautioned the commission to stay within the bounds of the city. But that restriction doesn't make sense when the very reason we're here stems from a resolution the city passed about an international issue. If international topics are truly outside your scope, then perhaps it's time to revisit and revise the code so that you can reflect the reality we're all living in. You are warmly invited to our weekly pro-Palestinian vigil. It's held every Thursday near the Marilyn Monroe statue from 6:30 to 8:30. Come stand with us, listen, ask questions, bear witness. And let me say clearly, being pro-Palestinian is not anti-Semitic. Give me something. Sorry. Being pro-Palestinian is not anti-Semitic. The two are not the same. Students have lost scholarships, immigrants have lost visas, people have lost jobs, simply for standing up for Palestinian rights. Their courage deserves more than silence. The city made a clear choice last October. I'm asking you to make a different one now. Please, help us make it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your presentation.
Yes.
Okay,
Good to see you.
so we're gonna move on to item number 8, new business, we have none. And item number 9 on the agenda with an update to the reshare municipal code that is moved to the.
I have a question on new business. So just because I don't understand, perhaps other commissioners don't understand. So please help me understand. Please explain to me how an item is added to this particular section of our agenda. On previous agendas this year, the same item sometimes is listed under new business. And then sometimes I see it as a discussion item, so I'm really confused. So what's the definition of new business? How does an item get added under new business? What's the process going forward?
Jeremy, you want to take care of it?
I do not, but I will.
Okay.
You're the laughter, right? I inherited these commission about a year ago, so I've gone back and looked at some historical documents to see if I could piece that together. And I'm not sure I can answer your question, other than when a commission member raises an item for the very first time, I try to guide it into a new business item. If it is more than the first time that we're discussing something, I add it to the agenda as a discussion item. But I guess for all intents and purposes, wherever it lands, you get to spend the same amount of time on the item. It's not limited. If it's a new business item, you get less time to talk or more time to talk, depending on where it lands.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah. But I just
And-
need, so when do you want the commissioner to bring up a topic that would cause you to then place it under new business on the next month's agenda?
I think when we get to item 10,
Item 10.
commission member requests, if
Okay,
it was, if something
Okay.
that was brought up there, I think under my logic could still end up in one of those two places. If it's something that we've never discussed before, I would agendize it under new business.
Okay.
If you said, hey, Jeremy, I want to keep talking about the Civil Rights Commission, then I would add that as a discussion item, as a
Okay.
continuing.
But bring it up under number 10.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you, Jeremy, for taking on that. All right, so we are not having a discussion on the revision of the municipal code because that's going to be moved to the June agenda. So we're now into 9B, which is Community Service Awards, and I would like to say thank you, Michael and Carlotta, for the work that you've put together, for making the recommendations on how we can move the Community Service Award nominations. Does anyone have any comments about the document that Commissioners Renick and Horn put together? Any comments, any recommendations, any suggestions that can make that process even simpler?
But I'm happy to go last. So I did read the document this afternoon. I do have several questions and comments, and I'll just go through my list. I can give this to you, Jeremy, if you want it. And we don't need to answer them tonight, but I wanted to make sure I let Michael and Carlotta, or Commissioner Horn and Commissioner Rankin know. So I don't know if everyone had a chance to look at the suggested criteria for Community Service Award dated April 3rd. But my first question is, did we decide that entities cannot be nominated by a current council member? And is that something we would want to add to our process for Community Service Awards going forward?
Are you talking of entity?
Well, you define it, you said that individuals and organizations that apply for a community service award will now be called entities.
Okay,
That's where I picked it up. It's in the third paragraph. So I'm just suggesting that we consider specifically in the revised, whatever we produce and adopt as a commission, that we recommend to, I guess, council or whomever, that entities, which are individuals and organizations, cannot be nominated for a community service award by a current council member. My second comment or question is, I guess, directed to Commissioner Horn and Commissioner Rankin. You mentioned the Public Relations Department. You suggest that the Public Relations Department might review all applications for any kind of adverse social media postings that could disqualify the applicant. And I just want to clarify, I think what you may have meant is the Office of Communications, Media Relations, and Neighborhoods. Because I don't think the city has a public relations department.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. My third question is, the candidate entry, I think is a separate form from the application online form.
Okay.
I think,
Yeah.
because you mentioned both, so I was a little confused. I think they're two separate documents that an applicant would submit under your suggested criteria. That correct?
I believe so.
Okay.
I mean, it's been a while since we've discussed this, but I would check with Carlotta.
Okay.
Sure.
I think so. I think the application online is the first thing that somebody would send in, but then you talk about recommending a candidate entry form with 5 categories to be assigned to score. So that sounds to me like a separate document. Just maybe we can clarify that in the next version of your paper. And I think the last thing I have is a little confused. If I'm reading this right, the staff liaison pre-screens the initial applications and refers the top 4 or 5 candidates to commissioners to rank. The full commission, I assume meeting in public, would then choose 3 to 6 applications to score in a special meeting, which would also have to be public. So I suppose we could refer to each entity in terms of keeping anonymity. I guess we would refer to them as entity number 1, entity number 2, but I wasn't sure if we have to keep them anonymous. But yes, that's something for the commission to discuss and deliberate on. Because if in your paper you say the finalists will then present at the special meeting. So if they're presenting at the special meeting, then they're no longer anonymous.
Correct.
So I'm a little confused about the whole anonymity thing. And lastly, I would just suggest to the commission and to our distinguished colleagues who are on the ad hoc committee. I don't know if you reached out to any of the other groups like the City of Los Angeles County Commission on Human Relations that has a robust program for awarding.
Yeah, we reached out to City of West
I don't know if
Hollywood.
they have a process already in place.
They have a process, but I'm not sure it's very kosher. They consider, there's possibilities of considering major donors to certain.
Yeah,
I'm not
Jay,
gonna
use
say
your mic.
who, but people or,
Use your mic.
Please.
oh, sorry. Yeah, so, yes, the City of West Hollywood, we reviewed City of West Hollywood, Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Okay.
And, I don't have the outline of each city and how they deal with it, but we can get that to you.
I was just curious because, and I think I also saw the California Teachers Association has a Human Rights Award Selection Committee. So I was just curious if maybe we reach out to them and see how does that committee process applications for their human rights awards and make selections.
Charlie, can you?
I think there is some merit to your point system. But I feel it might become a little onerous for commissioners in terms of ranking and assigning points and calculating points.
That's why we're trying to keep it as simple as we can,
Okay, well,
because this can evolve into endless hours of.
I agree. And then I'm not sure it's simple.
Well, we also, I mean, I think that your goal was to keep it as politically neutral as you possibly could. With the goal of the whole community service process being to, what, to encourage people to serve their communities. So they get a reward by being recognized in public. It's really difficult because I think the process is totally appropriate. I think you guys did a great job, you know, any kind of, of, of ranking, any kind of thing that doesn't, that affects everybody in exactly the same manner. But I'm still concerned that we're gonna wind up back where we did in the last community service. And I think that we're kind of, okay, so you put that off to the, communication department of the city, now it's their responsibility. So maybe that just gets us out of it, so maybe that's the right way to go. So we can point the finger, okay, you guys didn't do your job. Instead of it coming back on us, but I'm not sure if that's the right way to go. I'm not sure if there are other options, and I certainly would be open to hear anybody how we could best investigate these people so that we don't run into the same misma that we had last time.
Correct.
And I'm sure that's what you and Commissioner Horn were, or you're Commissioner Horn, and Carlotta were
Well, we'll look
mulling,
into,
trying to figure out what the best way to do it is.
well, we'll look into, I'm gonna ask Jeremy if he could, well, it'll be in the minutes. But maybe if you can address these issues like David's issues and stuff with Carlota and me.
Certainly, we can, if Vice Chair Vignola will send me his written questions, I mean, I can certainly go through the meeting video and write down what we talked about. If you have it easily accessible and send it to me, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
One of the things I would caution the group with, you know, I have oversight over a variety of departments. I do not have oversight over the communications group. So asking them to get involved is fine, but I will need to involve other people to get permission to do that.
Right.
So certainly okay, I will start those conversations, but just know that they don't report directly to me. So I'll be asking favors of other colleagues to participate in that type of work.
Is there something that we could require, like you do for employment, like some kind of background check or something that would be standard that would help us to avoid the issues that we had in the past? I mean, is there another way other than just looking at social media?
So
I don't know, what do we need?
but the problem with that is who's gonna be looking at these candidates' social
The
media.
police department.
Right.
No, I mean, maybe if you wanna stand, I mean, most jobs these days, they require you to go through a background check and you have to give all your information to people. I don't know, would that be unreasonable to ask people if they wanted to stand for this award to submit? I don't know, I really, I'm just.
Not sure. I'm not sure background checks
It would be-
check social media.
It would reveal what we want.
And I do know in California, because I do for another organization, nonprofit organization that I'm on, the board of directors, we do background checks.
Mhm.
It's a volunteer organization, but in California, you do have to get consent.
Yeah.
There are disclosure forms that if we went that route, we would have to get consent and disclosure, signed disclosures from any applicant, whether it's an individual or an organization.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It does.
Yes, and then there's a cost involved.
Correct.
So I don't know if the city would pick up the cost of doing a background check.
I would suspect since we're an advisory board, that we should keep it not as intrusive as that, because all we're doing is advising the council to make a decision.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
So the first thing that jumped after reading the work that Carlotta and you did, is that we were sort of moving from what used to be people nominating other people or organizations to a process where we will be looking at self-nominations. And that was one of the main issues that we had in the past, because we were trying to avoid having like self-serving. I'm the director of X organization and you would like to get an award, right? Or I'm this individual and I'd like to get an award. So that really jumped at me as one of the main considerations that we have to continue to think about and then decide whether this is going to continue to be people nominating other people and organizations, or we just open to the public to submit nominations. And then I thought that we really needed to focus on simplifying the criteria as bare bones, simple nomination criteria. And I was thinking about three particular areas that I like to see in the nomination criteria. One being the mission and the purpose of, let's say, an organization or an individual that is primarily engaging in promoting human rights. Keep it to like 200 words, no more than that. A second area that I thought about would be community impact. How this particular nominee has positively impacted the community, providing examples of meaningful contributions or significant outcomes. Again, no more than 300 words. And then what is the future vision? Share the nominee's vision for enhancing human rights in Palm Springs, including ideas or initiatives that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. No more than 200 words. 3 areas. The nomination process could be very simple. We'll have a nomination form based on this possible criteria. Our city staff liaisons will initially review the nominations for completeness and adherence to the criteria. We, the commission, can evaluate the nominations using a simple scoring method. Say that each nomination receives a score from 1 to 5 on each of the 3 criteria. And the nominations with the highest overall scores will be recommended to the city council for recognition. So that really takes all the responsibility of the commission to say this person or that person or this organization or that organization. It's based on how we feel they ranked. This could be make the process much more simply, ensure fairness, clarity, and ease of participation, honoring those who make Palm Springs more inclusive and equitable community. And I agree with Vice Chair Mignolo that we should definitely decide that no current council members or even ourselves as commissioners get involved in the participation process, because that takes away any potential kind of bias or perception of bias by us getting involved. And so I'll be happy to send this to you, Jeremy, so we can collect these suggestions. But I will certainly continue to encourage that work, because we're really making something out of whatever process it was before.
Well, Carlota and I can try to boil it down a little further with Jeremy's help, if we can schedule.
I was gonna ask for the intent of the commission, so I can bring back a workable product at a future meeting. So we've had multiple people here provide input. Is the thought that I would then meet with you and Commissioner Rinke, and then we can get a document that I can bring back at our next, perhaps our next meeting? Is that what we would like?
Yeah. And just as a reminder to all our commissioners, including our new ones, is that no other commission gives awards. Okay, we're the only one doing this, and we've done this for past years. So there's absolutely no specific requirement of us of doing awards, but it's obviously something that the whole commission has to make a decision based on what we have in front of us, right?
Maybe it would be more simple to viewer. Like, make a name more special, only if they do 2 a year or something. And really make it special, make it a big deal. You know, I felt last time we seemed to be, sort of like dealing out with bubble gum or something.
Jeremy?
So I was not involved in the last giving of the awards. I've certainly read some of the press and heard
You were
some of the anecdotal stories, but what I don't understand is what is the award? What do we physically hand to someone? What is someone the recipient of?
It's a placard that says that the Human Rights Commission is awarding this for the outstanding community service promoting human rights here at home.
But thank you.
The plaque says the Human Rights Commission. Isn't it the council?
So that's the question that we have in front of us. If we're gonna move to make the recommendation to council to say, we believe these individuals and organizations are have done outstanding work, and we would like to recommend them to you as council, and the council makes the decision, then those plaques can come from council and not the Human Rights Commission. I don't see why that would be an issue.
Okay,
Just two additional comments. I agree with the chair's suggestion on simplifying it. I like the idea of the three, whatever three areas you look at each application and base your scoring on. It doesn't really address the question of vetting of in social media. I think that was the big problem last time, and till we figure out a way to do that or who will do it, we're setting ourselves up for possible failure again. So just caution. And then I don't really understand, are we gonna then take our revised process for the community service award and submit it to council for approval? Is that what our task is?
No, the suggestion would be.
It wasn't something that council asked for, so I'm just curious as to.
Central council will, if the thought is that council is going to make the award or we're going to use city resources to fund the award, my recommendation is that this body will put together recommendations that I will take to council on behalf of the commission to get buy-in, and we can then effectuate the awards.
Okay. That's fair.
Mhm.
So we'll send this information we collated, and I continue to encourage the work that you have been doing once you have access to this information. And again, the goal is to make it simple as possible.
Yep.
Simple, clear, transparent process. If we're gonna ask people to make a presentation or whatever not, it's gonna be nearly impossible to keep it, from the public eye. So that is a very important consideration. Okay. Yes, Commissioner Malley.
It's just, I was interested in something that popped up and I saw different reactions around the room, which is having the discussion of, is this award going to still come from us, or are we passing it off to the council to give as their award? And I understand having to bring it to the council if city funds are being used. I've always viewed it as something very special that it came from this actual commission. I think that's really important. I think that's really important to the public too. And I also think it's really important for public knowledge of what our commission is and part of what we do. And it's a big spotlight moment for this commission. And I think that's important to look at when you reevaluate how you want to put this forth. I think having that ability for it to come from this body is incredibly important and meaningful to the people who are receiving it.
so. You're correct, but the thing is, the history of it. A couple of, I don't think it was last year that they came down on us because of different. How we handled it, and the community came down on the commission, not the council. So we sort of imploded and the council, I don't know, it was a mess, So the question is as a commission, do we want to bear the responsibility of these candidates? And, or should it be the council?
That's an important question. We have to agree on.
I agree with Scott Nevins that it should come from this body, because it is a human right, these are human rights awards.
And I also think that you have both done a great job in here, by the way, of really safeguarding the process. And I think one of the things you've done is removed the fact that council members themselves can nominate people who are going to get the award. And I think that also removes one aspect of what might have went wrong and what fell into your laps. And so I think looking at the safeguards, I think you've done everything really well. And I think just like everyone says, simplifying that, we don't want to kneecap the process for ourselves, right? That we end up doing hours and hours and hours of work. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, 99.9% of honorees, it'll be so obvious to many of us who are involved in the community that yes, these are the people that deserve the award. And if we need to look at social media, we could do that as a group. It's not, we don't have to tax the police or, ask people or to form a committee. I think there's a way to do that keeps this very, you clear the playing field. It's very nonpartisan and very fair that it's done as this body. And I think, yes, I think this body should bear responsibility for these awards, 'cause I think that's part of what's so special about them.
Okay.
Yeah,
I,
what's
I concur, I think it should come from the commission, but I'll go back to this, I think we should narrow it down to like 4 people. Just so that we can handle it. And what was it, 9 last time, I think, you know, and it caused a lot of problems, we were out of business for 9 months, and we sat around filling our thumbs because of this thing. So I don't think we wanna go through that again. So I would strongly recommend that we narrow it down and not give up so many, and make it more valuable, and more special. And that also will give us the opportunity to be able to really look at these people in more detail.
So we're gonna continue this conversation.
Excuse me.
Again, the encouragement is to continue to work with the additional feedback.
Yeah, we hope to bring something back, June, right?
Yes.
For
Yeah,
June.
okay.
Okay, so we'll itemize that in the agenda. For June. Any further comments on this? Okay, so 9C, continued calendar planning for 2025. I think these presentations really proving to be very informative. And it's ready to engage with national, state, and local organizations. One that keeps on coming back is California Against Hate. And I think that that's one organization that I'd love to hear more from. What do you guys think?
The commission, which organization?
It's California Against Hate versus Hate.
I think it's the commission on the state of hate. Is that what you're referring to?
CA versus Hate.
CAG Hate is the program that's come out, so it's the name of a program.
Right, it's not who administers the program.
That's correct.
Who?
Who, it was just,
So the,
Isn't it?
Department of Civil
Right.
Rights, the folks that we just heard from.
Civil rights.
Civil.
Sorry,
So you want to have another presentation from the same department?
I'm not asking for the
No,
presentation.
No, it was it's a subgroup of the civil rights.
I believe that's
Yeah,
correct.
but that's that group.
because that keeps on coming on several presentations. Maybe just to learn more about that particular program.
Yeah, so perhaps I can figure out exactly where the program lies and invite that individual to give a presentation to get us more information about CAB.
Mhm.
That good?
That sounds great. Did we ever?
Commissioner Vignolo, you had requested previously, I believe, someone, Equality California. They were at the last meeting that got canceled, so they are able to present in July. So they'll be presenting at our July
Wonderful.
14th meeting. I want to note that on June 17th, there is the joint meeting with the city council. So that's where all the boards and commissions meet with the city council. It'll be at the convention center. Dinner will be served, so there'll be dinner and then a formal meeting where each commission gets an opportunity to really present their mission statement and the names of their commissioners. So that'll be on June 17th. What we don't have for June 9th is another one of these presentations or presenters to invite to our body. So does anyone have recommendations of a group that we could reach out to for a presentation at our June meeting?
I had the suggestion that, and I forgot his name, but the guy that handles the homeless situation, is it
Roman Reese?
Roma? I think it would be wonderful if he did a presentation to us, so we could get an idea of what the homeless situation, and he's very on it.
Mhm.
And it would be,
Is he a city person?
Yes,
what?
he's a
Is
city
this-
employee.
He's a city employee in what department?
In community and economic development.
Oh, okay. And he would present on just homelessness, or is there a particular
He's a
program?
He's an
he has,
integral
or-
part of the city's navigation center, but he's a good interface between the individual experiencing homelessness and the wraparound services at the center. So it's under that intermediate step. So if you're looking for someone that can give you sort of a state of affairs of homelessness in the city and different tools that are available to individuals, he would be the right person.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because we had a meeting with him. That was an eye opener. So I think it would be great for us.
Possibly the Mizell Center or Well in the Desert.
I believe someone might have to contact ACLU. Is that still,
Yes,
that you?
I'm finding who to keep people there, because this is national. ACLU.
And just for the group edification, I did update the website with the 2025 calendar that before it had a 24 calendar, so all the dates of 25 are listed. And then for each meeting date, I've also identified which group will either has presented or will be presenting, so the public has a better understanding of what to expect from this body into the future.
Great. That's great. I have one more comment and a request for our June meeting. And that is that in June, we do the selection of the chair and the vice chair positions for the commission for the next 12 months. So each and every single one of you, including our new commissioners, can self-nominate and basically tell us why you should be the chair or the vice chair. If that is the case, bring a very brief presentation ready to make. We'll put this to a vote like we always do. Keep it very democratic and open, obviously all the participation. So yeah, that happens in June. So that the position of chair and vice chair starts in July for the next 12 months.
Is it possible to do it in July? Because we have one vacancy, which I don't know if it would be filled by June 9th, but might be filled by our meeting on July 14th. And secondly, I know that Commissioner Nevin's term expires June 30th. I'm hoping he'll be reappointed. But I just would like to throw that out for consideration that maybe July 14th for elections of chair and vice chairs better than June.
What does the rest of the commission think?
Is there any legality involved there?
I don't think so.
We haven't had elections
Yeah.
since July 2023. So we are due for.
If there's no legality, we can change the date, right?
Yeah, there's not.
There would be no issue in changing the date to reflect your anticipation that we have a full board seated in July. We don't accidentally nominate someone in June that is not here in July.
Oh, no, I was just hoping that we have a full commission
Certainly.
who could then elect a chair and vice chair. And we're more likely, I think, to have a full 9-member commission in July than on June, whatever it is,
June 9th.
June 9th.
There's no problems on my side.
Okay.
If
So
that's okay with the
what
chair.
does the rest of the commission feel? Was it
July was
okay
fine.
to move for
July.
July? Okay, so
So
we'll
add
move
it
to
to the
July.
calendar for July.
For July.
Thank you.
Any further comments or requests from the commission?
Are we on 10?
We are now in 10, yes,
I do.
of course.
I'll make it quick. I wrote them out. So, thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to recognize our Asian American and Pacific Islander residents, as May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage. Secondly, just want to again make note that on Saturday, May 24 at 2 p.m. there is a screening of No Other Land, which was recognized by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences with the 2025 Oscar for documentary feature film. This will be at the Palm Springs Cultural Center and is free to the public. And I know I'll be attending. I hope some of my colleagues will as well. Thirdly, on Wednesday of this week, the council will be discussing the interview and appointment process for this commission and the city manager and office of the city clerk's recommendation to direct city staff to schedule interviews of HRC candidates before the entire council rather than a 2-member subcommittee consisting of the mayor and mayor pro tem. The council, of course, would still have to vote to appoint a candidate by a motion approved by at least 3 affirmative votes. I urge my fellow commissioners to support this and let your council members know. Fourth and last, I'd like to echo Mayor DeHart's call at this year's Harvey Milk Coachella Valley Diversity Breakfast, which was held on May 8th, that each of us must do all we can to speak out and support members of our community, especially transgender and LGBTQ+ members, particularly in this political climate and with the current administration in Washington and its continuing attacks to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion. I believe that this commission must take the lead in being the voice for those most affected and at risk, wherever they may be. I believe that we must speak out and encourage our own city council to reaffirm its commitment to be a voice for human rights, not only here in our city, but throughout the United States and internationally. What happens in Hungary or Uganda or in the Middle East or in Ukraine affects all of us, and we can no longer be silent and only speak out when discriminatory or hateful practices and tensions occur within the territorial limits of the city of Palm Springs. We have to do more to promote and facilitate programs in our city to bring groups together, to proactively address intergroup tensions. We must, I believe, accelerate our approaches to disseminate educational and information to the community about how to combat hate speech and report hate incidents, especially through a robust social media presence and through our commission's own web pages, which are controlled by the city. We must commit to act on what our partners and other stakeholders who have told us through their presentations over these past few months what they seek from this commission. So I'd like to suggest that a first step might be for this commission to request Councilmember Reddy, who has already expressed to me his desire to come to this commission in a future meeting, the city manager and appropriate city staff, in addition to our own staff liaison, to come to a future meeting to discuss specific ways that we can collaborate on the content and present a plan and a timetable for an update of our website, hopefully by September 1st. That concludes my comment.
So, anybody else? Any other comments?
I have a comment that, I don't know if I should bring it up here or not, and I'm in conflict. Because of the presentation of the gentleman, tonight. What he's requesting is a, I believe, is like a recognition of his people. And how do we handle that? Because what he's voicing sounds to me legitimate. We don't want to get into this political thing, right? But it is our responsibility to consider what he's saying. So the question is, how do we address his issue? And that's what the commission is here for. I don't know where we take this. I don't know if it should be on a future agenda. But I'd like it to be addressed because I believe that his views should be addressed by the commission.
Any comments to that?
I would like to comment on that. I agree with what you're saying. I think as the Human Rights Commission, we need to recognize everybody, every ethnic group, every situation that's happening. You know, whether it's here in Palm Springs or in the world, because everything that's happening in the world is happening here in Palm Springs. So I agree, we need to address it. I'm not sure how we do it and how we do it correctly.
Well, that's the question, and I think this gentleman deserves a response, is what I'm saying, and I don't know how we all deal with this.
I want to keep us out of a Brown Act violation right here. And I'm hearing that we want to have further conversation about this topic.
Yes.
So I would recommend that if we get consensus from this body, that we put it on the June agenda as a discussion or as a new business item.
Okay.
Great.
That's
Well,
agreeable.
And that could be.
I'd like to motion for that. I think it's incumbent on this commission to take up a robust discussion of how we handle things like this and what is our role and our mission in recommending to council either resolutions or actions or programs or policies. That's our job. Look at the charter. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
So help me out here on what our agenda item would be titled. For next month, what's it gonna say on the agenda? What are we looking to get here?
Are we addressing the gentleman's concerns is what I'm bringing up. The gentleman has presented arguments that are, I'm not gonna say arguments, but facts. And so do we bring the gentleman back or do we discuss amongst ourselves? Because frankly, I mean, the documentary that won the Academy Award is I haven't seen it. Is it pro-Israeli or is it what is it? Because
It's not pro-Israeli, it's not pro-Palestine. I haven't seen it either. I encourage everyone to come see it on May 24th. It's free. But I don't think it takes one side or the other. I think it presents and again, I don't know because we haven't seen it. So
Well,
maybe we need to see it. But I think what we want to put on the agenda is a discussion by this commission on how we proactively address intergroup tensions, issues that are causing discomfort in our community, and just how do we respond and what do we want to provide council in terms of suggestions, recommendations,
yeah, because from my point of view,
to
I
promote
feel
human rights, whether
feel
it's here in
uncomfortable.
Palm Springs or in the United States or internationally. That's what I'm frustrated with. I mean, we are a Human Rights Commission and we should be looking at human rights wherever they're
So I
impacted.
feel uncomfortable being on this commission, knowing that the council has not.
I'm
Really?
gonna have to interrupt real fast,
Yeah.
all right? I don't want to get any of us in trouble where future conversations will be stymied, and I feel like we're getting into a discussion item.
Right.
Okay,
So the question
So I
is,
certainly, I want to get it on the agenda. I think intergroup tensions, I think is a way that we can phrase it in a way that'll allow you to have this very conversation unobstructed.
okay,
If that's okay with you.
yeah, that's fine. So is there, you want me to make the motion?
I think we have a motion.
we have a
Oh,
motion.
we did, okay.
We have to move to ask you to put something on the agenda.
Wasn't that within your rules, there had to be a consensus amongst the group to add something to the agenda
As new business.
as any business?
All right, then I'll move to put this on the agenda for June as new business. And we'll leave it pretty broad and then all commissioners can be prepared to bring their thoughts and ideas on how we can address
Yes.
this issue.
And as you see, when we add items to the council agenda, that a council member will say, hey, I'm interested in this, and we just get nods around the room, and if we get a majority of people saying, yes, I'm interested in that topic, it would get added to the agenda.
Okay.
So I'm seeing, am I seeing nods?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
So the motion and the second, right?
Yes,
I don't know if there was a second, but
that's it.
yeah,
I don't think we need a formal
All right.
voting process, we just,
consensus.
our informal consensus.
Great, so thank you.
Okay.
6:42 p.m.
And thank you for your input, Jeremy, and Corinne, guiding us how we should be doing this.
Yeah.
And to keep us all, out of trouble.
But what about, could we add as new business, this idea of, I know we've had communications, Jeremy, about we need to do something to make current and make it more usable, the Human Rights Commission's website. I know it doesn't necessarily fall under the Department of Information Technology. I know it takes staff resources. To this end, Councilmember Reddy said he wanted to come and he would speak on this if this body opts to put it on the agenda for June or July as new business.
If this
Because there's
body would
no
like to
reason
do that,
we
I'm happy
can't.
to invite him.
I'm not saying you have to do all the work, but we have to figure out a way using city resources to get our website current. We are responsible for the content, the city is responsible for making it happen. And we need to decide as a body, do we want a functional current website or not?
Why don't we put, Councilmember Reddy on the agenda where we don't have a present, present, was that June or July or June?
June.
Why don't we put him on for June then?
Okay, I will invite him.
I think he
to-
said he was available as of last week, but you can check with him. I don't know if you want to invite other city staff members, but I'll leave that up to you. But the topic is
Website,
our website.
Website.
all right.
Any further comments or requests? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Bob. That Commissioner is second by Commissioner Horn. Say aye. Aye. Adjourn. So this commission will adjourn to a regular meeting scheduled on Monday, 9/2025. Thank you very much. Thank you.